Hello everyone, welcome to Projects with Gaurang, and today we are going to set up the Firebase and we are going to make the login page for our app. So what do I mean by that is we are going to work on this login page and we are going to set up the Firebase which will power this login page. So for that, first go to this website console.firebase.google.com and create a new Firebase project. You can give any name. So I will be giving it a name of AI or AI stock YT. Continue. You can enable this or you can disable this. It's purely your choice. So I'm leaving it as a default. Continue. And then you have to select an account. So I'm using default account for Firebase and it will create your project. It might take some time depending on your laptop and your internet connection. So now our Firebase project is ready. So click on continue. And this is a new feature in Firebase. So what you do is you prompt here and it will set up your Firebase account, but we don't need that for now. So now you have to click on this web option. Again, any name you can give, even you can use the same name which you have used for your Firebase project. So just for the sake of simplicity, I'm using the same name and we don't need Firebase hosting. If you are using Firebase hosting, then you can select it, but then again, this can be done later also. Now we can continue to console. You can see now there is one app present here. So click on this build and go to authentication. After going to authentication, get started. And here you have to select the providers. So email and password are the native providers. And if you are using passwordless sign-in, then you have to integrate it with additional steps. So for now we are not doing it. We are using normal email password and I will also add Google provider. Enable it and you just have to select your Gmail account in which your Firebase is there. So same account. Save it. So now our email password and our Google is enabled. Then again go to the build section and scroll it down and you need Firestore database. There is one real-time database also. We don't need that. So click on Firestore database. Create database. Then you can database ID can be default and location you can set. So I am using, let me check. Again, it's better to select a location closest to you. So for me, it will be Asia South 1. Next, we will use the production mode for our project. Create. You can also use test mode, but then you have to specify the rules. In production mode, many of the rules are already specified and it's easy to set up those rules. Now it is making your cloud Firestore. Yeah. So this is the starting window you will see. Now, if you are new to Cloud Firestore or to NoSQL databases, let me tell you how they work. They work on the collection document framework. Everything, you can say every information is stored in a document, and when multiple documents are present, there are collections. And then each document can have multiple collections also. Again, it might seem confusing, but when we set up our app and when we populate this data, you will see how it how easy it is. So I'm putting the first collection here. You need to do that before starting. So I'm using users, and I don't need to put any field. What you can do is you can put auto ID here, save it, and you can delete this. It's just because I need this collection, and in Firebase when you create the new collection you need to give one document. So you can delete this document now, and now we have a collection. So now let's move on to this login page. For that, what we have to do is we have to first set up the Firebase file. For this, go to this lib folder and we will make a new file here, firebase.ts. ts file is the TypeScript file. And how to get the information for this? It's very simple. Go to this settings icon, project settings, and follow these instructions. So first we need to install the Firebase, and I have a second terminal already opened. So let me just check. Yeah. Copy it and run it. It will install the Firebase, all its libraries, all the functions which you need to access Firebase data store or Firebase authentication. We can also start working on the environment file. Let's give it some time when it gets installed. Till then, make a new file .env.local. Now this file is important because all your environment variables will be present here. And in Next.js, or if you are using other frameworks, like if you are using React with White, there are certain naming conventions for the local variables. In Next.js, what happens is that you have to start with next public. Everything should start with next public if it is a public environment variable. What is a public environment variable is that public environment variables can be accessed from the client side. Wait a minute. And let me explain it in a diagrammatical way so that you know what I'm talking about. So what happens is that your app has two major bifurcations or two major spaces. One is client side, one is server side. So this is your client, and this is with your server. Now for us, the server side is the Firebase side, and client side is whatever you see. So there are certain environment variables which I only want server to access. These are more protected. For example, your Gemini API, which we will use. Again, there are any other API keys, like some authentication keys if you are doing server side authentication. So that you need. These client side keys, they are also important, but they can be accessed from the client side, and even on the client side, to make them invisible or to make them protected, we use the environment file. So that's one thing. Again, I have spent quite a time here, and we have Firebase installed. Now copy this. Sorry, not this. We have already copied this. We need to copy this and paste it here. Remove this. We don't need analytics. Again, your choice. You can keep it or don't keep it, but for now we don't need analytics, so I'm removing it, and I will be using get Firestore from Firebase /Firestore, and I will be using get auth from Firebase Auth. After this, what I will do is I will also get apps and get app. Now I will check if there is already one app set. So get apps dot length greater than 0. Then we don't need to initialize because app is already present. So we don't need to reinitialize the app. So get app sorry, I did error here. After that, we will get db equal to get Firestore and pass app as the argument, and const authentication auth equal to get auth. After that, we will export db and auth. So now our Firebase app is set. Firebase file is set up. Now we will move these values to environment file. So we will use next public Firebase API key. That will be equal to the value present here. Save it, and then you can access it here. Remove it and process.env next public Firebase API key. So the name should be same. Whatever name you are using here, exact name should be here. So now I have created environment variables for all the necessary fields. You can check it here, and I have updated this line. It is just so that you don't get confused when you look into the GitHub repository. So I have used that type of logic there, so I just copied the same here. Now before moving on, one thing we should do is we should update the Firestore rules. So what you have to do is you have to go to Firestore database, rules, and copy all of these rules. Now these rules I will, you can pause the screen and type it. I will also share them in this in the description, so you can copy that from there also. So then publish it. Now these rules I arrived after trial and error, so yeah, that's why I'm giving you as such. So now we have the second set of rules here. So now let's move on to the context file. For that, I will create a new directory called context, and in this context I will create a new file called AuthContext.tsx. So we can close this environment file for now. Now mark this file first as use client because we are going to use hooks in it. Then we will import create context, use effect, and not use ref. We will use state, and we will use context. After this, I will import auth from Firebase from @lib/Firebase. And one more thing we will import on auth state changed and user from Firebase/auth. So these three things we will need. After this, we will make an interface, not import. Interface AuthContext, and we can give it AuthContext type. It will have two fields, user which will be of type user, or it will be null, and one loading state which will be boolean. After that we will make auth context. So const auth context, create context, auth context type, and user will be null, and loading initially will be true, not false, because this context I'm planning to run every time whenever someone opens the app. At least it will run one time, and in that one time it will check whether the user is logged in, and also set up this loading state. So that's why I have put loading is equal to true, that your application is still loading. After that we will make auth provider. So export const auth provider, and it will be a wrapper. So it should be, it will take children as props, and this children will be React Node, and we will make this component. So const user set user, so use state, and initially it will be null, and loading state. And then we will have our use effect, and an empty array. This is the dependencies array. So if it is empty, it means it will run only one time. So I will make a function here, const unsubscribe auth dot on auth state changed, whenever the state changes. So we don't need auth dot because we already imported from here. And what we will do is we will set the user and set the loading state to false, and yeah, we will return this function. And why it is showing error? Yeah, because we didn't pass the auth here. So auth, and then we have to pass in the user. Yeah. Now it is right. So you have to pass the auth first. If you are using auth dot on auth state changed, then you don't need to pass the auth object. And in last we will return auth context dot provider value, and this. And one more function I'm going to export from here is this use auth function. This is a very simple function. It is just to get your user and your loading state easily. So after you make this, go to your layout file and wrap your theme provider into the auth context. So auth provider, and Control X, type it here. Now our whole application has the access to your user and your loading state. So it is very beneficial, and we will use it in our login page also. Save it, and now let's implement the login page. First we will import all the necessary functions. So yeah, these are all the functions. Mark this file also as use client, because only in client functions you can use the hooks. So first we have to get the input, dialog, and sonar. How to get them? Easy. Go to shadcn, search documentation, input, and copy this and run it. Same we will do with dialog, not alert dialog, we have to use simple dialog. Then for toast what we will do is we will type toast here, and you will see the toast has been deprecated, so we have to use Sonar now. So how to use Sonar? It's very simple actually. So we will add Sonar here, and it will install it. So what you can check here is we need to go to component CUI, and you can check all the files are here, and also the errors now are gone. Again, go to the not the AuthContext, go to the layout and add a toaster component here to show the toast. This will help, this will show the toast to us. So this here is added, and here the Sonar toaster is also present. After this we will add the following variables. So first I'm getting the router, then I'm getting email and password. I'm setting it as use state, and initially they will be blank. Then the error and the loading state. Here loading state will be false for initially. So after that I'm using the use effect. Now this use effect is necessary to check whether the user is already logged in. Because see, if user is logged in or signed up, I don't want to redirect user to this page. User should not be able to see this page because he is already logged in. He doesn't need to. So that's why this router.push, it will redirect to the home page. And what I'm doing here is, why I'm passing router here, because this router signifies whenever this component will load, like whenever the application will load or the user will change, this router changes, and that's why if the user logs out, I can easily redirect to this page. So this is why I'm passing this router here. After this we will make the handle login function. It is a very simple function. So what it is doing is, it is taking the email and password, and then it is trying to sign in the user with, like it is checking whether the email and password are valid and user can be logged in, or you can say signed in or not. So what I'm doing is, first I'm preventing the default behavior, because we are going to take input from a form. So the form has a habit of refreshing the page. I don't want that, because if the page is refreshed, my values will be lost. So that's why e.prevent default. Then for now there is no error, so I will set the error as blank string, or you can say empty string. Then the loading will be true, because now the loading has started. After that, what I will do is, I will try and check whether I can log in or sign up the user or not. So this is the method we are using. So this is a method from the Firebase auth, sign in with email and password. So just you have to pass the auth object, the email and the password, and if it is successfully done, then the router will push to home page. And if there is any error, so the error will be logged, it will be stored, and it will be also shown to the user that something is not right and something went wrong. I will show the demo of it also. And then after that, whether it's try or catch, then finally the loading should stop. So this finally block is doing that. After this, we will implement the handle Google sign-in function. Now this is a slightly complicated function, but again, it is a logical, like if you follow it logically, you will understand it. So again, for now there is no error, because at start there doesn't make any sense to have any error. Then we will set the loading. Again, it should be true. Then there is a provider component, this Google Auth provider. So that you need. After this, we will put the try catch block. So in try, I'm getting the user credentials, that after sign in, this sign in, with auth and provider. Provider, see, this provider makes sense because we are using Google Auth provider. If you are using any other provider, let me show you. Yeah. In authentication, sign in methods, if you are using any other provider, so you will make that provider object and pass that object in this sign in with pop-up. So I will check whether I'm getting some user credentials or not, and I will check whether I'm getting the Firebase user or not. So user credential dot user. If I'm not getting any user, then simple, I will return a new error called user is not created, and this function will stop. If user is there, then I will create a document for the user. Now, why the document? Because initial document needs to be created, which will create user information, the plan information, the credits, and the time at which it was created. So this user reference we will get from there. If you see, this user is there, and every user contains a UUID or UID. UID is unique ID. So this users we created, let me show you. Yeah. So the users collection, again it is deleted, but it will be created on its own here. Then I'm checking if user snap does not exist, if there is no user document available, it means I have to create one. So how to create one? It is very simple. I will use setDoc function, user ref, and I will pass the object. And because I wanted to create collections and I didn't want to create it here, just for the sake of simplicity, I used the same function with somewhat different approach. Like I have to pass the document here first. This document will be passed, and in this document the sub collections will be created, and then the console log that user document is created successfully. Again, the toast success, and the router will then push to home page. Otherwise, if there is any error, then I have error messages, and finally we have to stop the loading. Like we have to set the loading false whether were able, we successfully did sign in the user or we couldn't sign in the user. Now let's start with the UI. So remove this, and we will add these two divs and the heading. So this is setting the height of the screen, like the component should take the minimum height of the screen, and it is setting the background. After that, what I'm doing is I'm considering the maximum width, constraining the maximum width to the medium device should be the maximum width, and the width should be full in that medium device. Then for the light mode, I'm using the background white, and for the dark mode, I'm using gray 900. And then simple, like border rounded, the shadow, the spacings, and the padding. So save it, and here you can see we have started the login. Then we will add the Google sign in button, like the button for Google sign in. So here is this. So it's a simple button with a cursor pointer and a full width. I'm using the outline variant. There are many other variants also, and you can also skip this variant and design the whole thing in the class name. Like you can assign some different classes to give it a different feel. And if there is loading, like loading is true, this button should be disabled, because if it is loading, then it doesn't make sense to be, like it should not be active. You don't want to send requests to the same thing over and over again. You need that the first request should be processed. And the handle Google sign in function is here. This is the separator I'm using, so let me show you first. So I guess I placed it in the wrong section. Yeah, sorry. So I actually placed it in the wrong place. I should have placed it here. So now save it, and you can see you have continued with Google. And if I click on this, your Google sign in is working. So see, I am successfully logged in. I am redirected to the same page and I got the toaster here. Now let's add the form for sign in with email and password. So it will be a simple form. So what it will do is it will take a on submit function. That handle login function will be passed here, and the props will also be passed, because what I have done is I have passed the event here. Yeah, not this. Yeah, the event I have passed, and I already gave it the form event. Like I've already declared that this is a form event attribute or argument. So that's why it will already be passed when I pass it in on submit. Then a simple class name to give some space in y direction in top and bottom. Then I have put two inputs. One is for email, other is for password, and both are required. And this value and on change thing. This is helping me to set the email and password which I'm using here. This email and password, because these email and password are the state variables. So these are already like constantly being updated in the form, and whenever the button is clicked, the submit button is clicked, we are getting those attributes already in the handle log. So save it and you will be able to see it here. See, you have your email and password here. Now one last thing is there. We have to add the forget password function and the redirect to the sign in. So let's add that, and here it will be added. So forget password model we will create. For now, let's just like comment it out so that you can see the UI without any errors. See, you have your UI here. Now let's make this forget password model. So if I click on this, I will be redirected to the sign in. And let's make this function, this model now. Now to make this model, I will make this model here in the same component. You can also make a different component for it, but then again it is not getting used anywhere else, so I put it here only. Now what is happening in this is I'm getting the email, because let me first show you the functionality so that you will understand what I'm doing with the model. So when I click it, it will take the email. This email will be used to send an email or the password reset link to you. So simple. We have loading state again, because obviously if it is loading, then you don't need to do anything up until the process is complete. So first I'm checking whether there is an email or not, like without entering the email you submitted it, so that won't work. Then the error will come. Then the process will start and I will set the loading to true. Now this is a function that Firebase provides, the send password reset email. You have to pass the auth object and the email object. Then it will already send you the reset email to your email which you entered here. And then you can reset your password. Again, I'm catching the errors, and finally I'm setting the loading to false. And here I'm checking. Here is the UI, like simple dialog boxes here. I'm checking everything here. This input I'm disabling whenever it is loading so that you can't change it. I'm disabling the button upon, like if the email is in the sending process. So that's all that. Let me show you how it is being used. So if I enter some abc@gmail.com. Again, I don't know, will it work? So yeah, password reset email sent, but I don't have abc@gmail.com, so it will be there. So now your login page is complete. I will suggest you to try implement certain components of this page on its own, especially this forget password model, because again it's a simple component and it will teach you some functions and it will be a good practice for you. Like if you're not well versed in ShardScene, it will help you to look into the ShardScene documentation and then use it. So now our login page is complete and we have also set up the Firebase. So that's all for this video. In next video, we will proceed with the other components of our app. So if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. Till then, bye and take care.